The Kansas City Chiefs happen to have the best player in all of football, and that best player is, of course, their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, nicknamed Showtime. But through the first 5 games of the season, the defense has been the star of the show and starting to emerge in classic hit stick Nick fashion, Nick Bolton. According to PFF, Nick Bolton had a 91.6 run defense score in Week 5. That was the best in the NFL. It is interesting to note this because classically, when the Kansas City Chiefs had a bad defense, it was the run defense that often ended up leading to losses for the Kansas City Chiefs, because what happened was the Kansas City Chiefs would get in a slugfest, a shootout with another team. The other team would get a lead and then slowly bleed the clock by running the ball all over the Chiefs' defense. That has not been the case thus far this season. Week 1 was a little bit slippery, but only with Lamar Jackson. And since then, it's been pretty quiet against the Kansas City Chiefs in the run department. There is an article today from The Athletic, and I have stolen the snippet here from the Arrowhead Pride Arrowhead Lines article. So, if it's not a good snippet, you can blame them. But how the Chiefs' defense is shutting down opposing running backs, written by Nate Taylor. We get the following. This season, Spagnuolo has played 21 defenders. The group has missed just 13 tackles when the opponent has run the ball, according to Pro Football Focus. It really starts from our defensive motto this year, demanding better, Reed said. This year is about outdoing last year. It's about outdoing what we did last week. It's continuing to raise the bar and get better. In fact, the player who has generated the most rushing yards against the Chiefs this season is Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who gained 122 yards in the opener, most of which came after he scrambled out of the pocket. The longest run the Chiefs have surrendered to an opponent this season is 20 yards, which ranks first in the league, according to True Media. And that 20-yard gain came on a jet sweep by Falcons receiver Ray McLeod. Now, I want to go up here because I'm assuming that these numbers are accurate. I have not looked into them myself, but it says that Steve Spagnuolo has played 21 defenders so far this season. And if that's the case, and this article was written after last week's game, then really the number is 20, because Christian Roland Wallace came on the field for a single snap last week, and really the number is just 18, because there is a certain Chiefs rookie safety who has gotten onto the field in order to look at a couple blades of grass, but that's really it so far this season. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Nick Bolton because he's good enough, he's smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like him. Nick Bolton has started the season looking pretty rough. He did not have a good game against the Ravens, and against the Bengals, maybe it was a little bit better, but it was by no means something to write home about. But the thing to remember here is that Nick Bolton was injured in the preseason and got very little work. And it wasn't a meaningless injury. It is an injury with the elbow. That's something that a run-stuffing linebacker like Nick Bolton, he needs his elbows. So he got very little work in the preseason leading up to the live fire that he faced in Week 1. And in Week 1, he played 80 snaps of defense. That is a lot of defense to play upon coming onto the field for the very first time in a season. Now, in that first week, which was subpar for Nick Bolton's standards, he missed 2 tackles. And he missed 2 more tackles versus the Falcons. But those have been his only missed tackles during this season. They seem to come in clusters for Nick Bolton. Moving on to Nick Bolton against the pass, it's interesting to note that Nick Bolton was targeted 5 times in Week 1. Again, his weakest performance so far this season. That Week 1 game, he looked as if he was out of sorts. He was coming off of an injury-riddled 2023, and there's a stat a little bit later in this video that's going to get to that, but coming off of an injury-riddled 2023 and then missing the preseason, that is a tough task for a linebacker who is at the center of the defense. You have to defend the pass basically as much as you have to defend the run. So you're kind of jostled around all sorts of positions as a linebacker. But he was targeted 5 times in Week 1 and 4 more times in Week 2. That's 9 targets in just the first 2 weeks of the season. During those 2 games, he gave up a rating when targeted, of 158.3 versus the Ravens, and a rating when targeted of 101.0 versus the Bengals and Joe Burrow in Week 2. But since those 2 games, being targeted 9 times in 2 weeks, he's only been targeted 8 times total in the following 3 games. And as opposed to giving up ratings of 158.3 and 101.0, he has given up ratings when targeted of 97.9, 77.1, and 81.9, respectively. It does not look like a massive improvement between 97.9 and 101.0, but that difference between 77.1 and 158.3 is gargantuan. A massive improvement for Nick Bolton versus the pass. Now, 5 games through the season, he is only 9 tackles total behind his torrid 2022 pace. You will remember 2022 was when he got 180 total tackles. Now, 9 tackles behind in 5 games. That is not a small difference. But when we look at the fact that he has missed 4 tackles already this season, had he not missed those tackles, he would be only 5 tackles behind that 180 tackle pace. Now, Nick Bolton has already played 292 snaps of defense this season. Last year, he played 442 snaps total, meaning that already through 5 weeks of the season, Nick Bolton has played 66% of the football that he played in that injury-riddled 2023 season. Hit Stick Nick is truly coming back into his own. And one of the real questions for this defense leading into the season was the linebacking core, ironically, because Drue Tranquill seems to have proven all there is to prove so far in his career, that he is a starting level linebacker in the NFL, and certainly Nick Bolton has done the same. But the linebacking crew lost Willie Gay to the New Orleans Saints, who we just played but didn't play Willie Gay. And that was the big question. How was Leo Chenal going to step up into the role vacated by Willie Gay? Well, we don't really have that answer yet. Drue Tranquill started this season off on strange footing as well. Here's the thing with Steve Spagnuolo's defenses: they get better as the weeks go on. Traditionally, better as the weeks go on. And that appears to be the case this season as well. Now, it's true that opening the season against the Ravens and the Bengals was going to be a test of this team. The Bengals, though, they have a terrible record. It's not because of the offense. And the Chiefs' defense has done a good job all season long, but they are starting to really crack down. If the Chiefs' defensive motto is to get better, is to be better than it was last season, if the Chiefs do accomplish that goal, there is no reason to doubt that the Kansas City Chiefs will have another deep playoff run for the 2024 season. If the Chiefs can improve on their defensive performance from last season, which was one of the best defenses I have seen in all my time as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, if they are able to improve on that performance, it may not matter that the Kansas City Chiefs have lost 3 of their top playmakers for the entire season. Juju Smith-Schuster came out firing against the New Orleans Saints. Xavier Worthy seems to be getting better and better, seems to be working in different routes, seems to be learning different packages in this offense, and now he's thrust into the role of having to play more football. Should he find his way to improve the way that Rashee Rice did last season, and you have Juju Smith-Schuster playing half as good as he did versus the Saints, this really could be a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl run. This really could be a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl victory. Time will tell, but the defense is getting better and the offense seems to be finding their footing. That's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping videos every day of the week. And I hope to have you back for the next one.